Hi everybody, I hope you're good. Nasdaq 100, we are on the monthly chart, and on this particular chart we have this candlestick over here. It is a liquidity candlestick, and it tells us that where the candlestick ends at the bottom, we have a lot of liquidity there. And just remember that liquidity represents money that needs to be triggered by the market at one point or another, and that in the future we will see price head down to around this level to trigger that liquidity, right? Just also bear in mind that this particular move may take quite some years to actually unfold and unravel, right? But having said that, indeed the market at one point or another will come down to this level to grab that liquidity, right? So what else do we see, guys, in regards to the monthly chart of Nasdaq 100? At this point I don't see much, so what I will do is head down to the weekly chart, and here we are on the weekly chart. The first thing that I can see in regards to the weekly chart is that price, or the market, has created, or rather is in the process of creating, what seems to be a head and shoulders pattern, right? However, this particular pattern is not yet confirmed, and that is because for this pattern to be confirmed we need at least for there to be one bullish candlestick on this side, and we would know for sure that this particular pattern has confirmed, right? But for now, what may actually happen is, as much as I'm saying that we have what seems to be a head and shoulders pattern forming, is that we might potentially see price continue to create this particular movement and head all the way down, right? I hope what I'm saying makes sense, right? So what else do we see, guys, in regards to this chart? Another thing that I see is that we have this candlestick over here. It too is a liquidity candlestick, and it is carrying a lot of liquidity where it ends. And just remember, guys, that liquidity represents money that needs to be triggered by the market at some stage. So there we go. We could say that at some point the market needs to head down as well to this level to trigger that liquidity, right? So what else do we see, guys? At this point I don't see much, so what I will do is head down to the daily chart. However, before I do so, I just also want to point out that we have actually at this level over here, that candlestick, it is also a liquidity candlestick, and it tells us that there's a lot of money sitting at this point which needs to be triggered by the market at one point or another. We have another one at this point as well, so there's plenty of scope for the market to continue to push further up, and yeah, hopefully that's what will happen in the near future, right? So let's head down to the daily chart and let's have a look, right? So here we are on the daily chart, and the first thing that I'm going to do in regards to the daily chart is to add my daily channel. Let's have a look. Just bear with me, guys, while I do so. And just remember that we need to ensure that our charts are as accurate as can be, just to ensure that ultimately when we do buy or sell, our execution is very much accurate, right? So there we go. There goes our daily channel, more or less. There we go. And we can see, guys, that we had multiple rejections at that point, and whenever we have a third rejection, and especially when the market is in a downward trajectory, right, at this level, we expect price to move further down to at least touch the side of the trend line, right? But I would say that at the very least the market has to come down to this level to grab that liquidity, guys, right? That's because, as I've said, guys, we've had a third rejection at this point, right? Another confirmation that I see that the market needs to push further down is the fact that we had this triple top, as you guys can see, which had a neckline at that point, and we saw price breaking to the bottom side of that neckline, heading back to that neckline to test it, and at this point is where we should have looked for potential selling opportunities, and I believe that our take profit should be around this area over here, which is the 10,500 level, more or less, guys. And that is because, as I've said, we have a lot of liquidity sitting at this point, and just remember that liquidity represents money that needs to be triggered at one point or another, right? And remember, guys, that in regards to triple tops, right, as I usually say, ideally we want to see the market creating that triple top, right, and then breaking to the bottom side of that neckline in this manner, and then hitting back to the neckline to test it. And at that neckline is where we would look for potential selling opportunities, right? So that's just technical analysis 101, right, as you guys can see. So that's exactly what happened here, where we saw, as I've said, the market breaking down to the bottom side, hitting back up to the neckline to test it, and at that neckline is where we would have looked for potential selling opportunities, right? So I'm just gonna add a neckline for that triple top so that we don't forget about it, because this neckline is now a very strong area of resistance at this point in time. And just also remember, guys, that necklines are areas and not so much an actual line. So in other words, we could say that our neckline could be something like this, right? Our neckline could be something like this, right? Let me just zoom in a bit. Can you guys see that, right? So another thing that I also want to point out is that as much as we've had this triple top at this point, just also bear in mind that we have this candlestick as well at this level, and it is carrying a lot of liquidity at that point as well. And just remember that liquidity is money that needs to be triggered by the market at one point or another. So as much as I'm saying that we have this triple top and that we expect price to move further down to at least this level, in the future we will see price move further up to trigger that liquidity as well at that level, right? Anyway, let's proceed, guys. So what else do we see in regards to the daily chart? At this point I don't see much really, so what I will do is head down to the H4 chart. Just bear with me, guys. On the H4 chart, I'm just gonna fix my daily channel. I just need to ensure that it is as accurate as can be, and that is because that when we do ultimately execute, we want our execution to be as accurate as our analysis, right? Let's see. Okay, that looks good. There we go. And as I've said, guys, here we are on the H4 chart. And what do we see on the H4 chart, right? What do we see on the H4 chart that we should be paying attention to? Let's have a look. Just bear with me, guys. Let's have a look. Let's see. I'm just gonna fix my neckline quite a bit, right? And then from here, the first thing rather that I'm going to do in regards to my H4 chart is to add my H4 channel as well, guys. So just bear with me. Let's see. I would add my H4 channel in this manner, more or less. Right. So we could say that more or less this is our H4 channel. And as I usually say, guys, we just need to ensure that whatever drawings that we add to our charts are very much accurate, right? And there we go, guys. And just to recap quite a bit, guys, remember that on the on the daily chart, we spoke about how we have this triple top here, which has a neckline at this level, and we said that price broke to the bottom side of the neckline and then went up again to just test the neckline and then push further down, right? So as much as we have that particular structure, right, just also bear in mind that we have a smaller M structure at this point. Let me just draw it for you. We have this smaller M structure which also has a neckline more or less at that level, and it's actually an overextended M structure because that first leg is much higher than that second leg, right? It's like this actually, where that first leg is much higher than that second leg, and we can see that the neckline was broken at this point. Price went up again to retest that neckline, and ideally at the neckline is where we should be looking for potential selling opportunities. However, things at this point in time are a bit complicated. What do I say so? That is because if you were to look at the H4 trend line, you would see that price has actually broken to the outside of that trend line, which indicates that we might potentially start looking for potential buying opportunities. However, Having said that, I believe that this breakout is most likely a false breakout, and we are likely to see price move further down, right? And that is because we have a lot of liquidity at the bottom that needs to be triggered by the market, right? But having said that, a lot of people, or rather a lot of traders and investors saw this particular breakout, and what they did is started buying and placing their stop losses just around this level, right? And I believe that this is most likely a trap move, and we might potentially see price move further down to trigger all of those stop losses that are here, as well as to move further down, right? If I can just go back to the daily chart, remember that we have this level over here, which has a lot of liquidity that needs to be triggered by the market, right? Let's go back to the H4 chart, right? Yeah, so what else do we see, guys, in regards to the H4 chart? Let's have a look. Let's have a look. And guys, as much as I'm saying that I believe that this is a false breakout to the upside, I'm not necessarily saying that we should be buying at this point because it's a bit risky. Yes, we do have this M structure, which has a neckline at that point, but selling rather, I meant selling, sorry, selling at this point is a bit risky because price has broken to the upside of this particular trend line. So we need to wait and see how things unravel over the next couple of hours, and then act accordingly based on what price does, right? Yeah, so that is it, guys, as far as my analysis goes at this point in time in regards to selling or buying Nasdaq 100. I don't see any actual opportunities. Anyway, from here, let me just head down to the H1 chart to see if we can spot any opportunities. Just bear with me, guys. I'm just gonna fix my H4 channel more or less, right? And yeah, so as I've said, guys, we saw price breaking to the upside of that channel. Nonetheless, having said that, I believe that we will see price move further down at one point or another. We just need to wait for the right opportunity to short the market as well, right? But in as far as things stand at this point in time, I really don't see any buying or selling opportunities, and at this point really I would not be buying or selling, right? So that is it as far as my analysis goes, guys. I hope it makes sense, and I believe that we should be looking for potential selling opportunities. However, at this point in time we don't see any. And yeah, just remember to like and subscribe to the channel if you like the content, and if you would like me to have a look at any other further charts, just let me know. And yeah, peace out, guys.